Yeah. Our last meeting, we looked at the various or the platform. Okay, the Flutterflow platform. We looked at the dashboard, the app builder. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we can
Yes,
hear you.
sir, we can hear you.
All right. So we looked at the app board, the navigation menu, talk about the toolbar, the help menu, keyboard shortcuts, and then we went further to talk about other um, things we can see on the Flutterflow platform. So like the app builder, which gives us access to the application. And then we also talked about the storyboard, the widget palettes, and then the resource hierarchy. So today we will look at some more features, especially to do with widgets. Okay, mostly focusing on the widgets, and then we'll try an example. By the way, I'm making arrangements to 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 um, to make up for the periods that we've lost. Okay, so I'm in touch with Eddie, and he'll meet you to make up for some of the periods. So I've confirmed from him, and his Wednesdays he'll be free on Wednesdays. So the period that we have for the project work, I think it's Wednesday. The part-time is Wednesday, 5 p.m. Okay, so we'll use the Wednesdays and then the Fridays. If I'm busy on the Fridays, then we'll have the Saturdays. Okay, so basically we'll meet like twice a week onwards to try and cover more before the exams. So Eddie will meet you on the Wednesdays, and then I will follow up with the meetings on Fridays and Saturdays if we are not able to meet on the Fridays. Okay, and it's most likely our meetings will be online. Okay, probably we'll get some 2 weeks face to face before the exams. Right. Okay, so let's go on. Today we focus on some widgets. We take you through some key things you should know about the widgets. Some of the widgets elements. I think last week we talked about the elements. Okay, so we'll go into some specific widgets and then we'll look at build one simple example from there. When I did meet you, you take you through how to develop different pages and navigate them using the storyboard. Okay. All right, so let's begin. Let's create a new project. Okay, so we'll give it a name. Let's say uh, tech shop. So we are building a new project from start. So basically what we will be doing is to design an application with name TechShop, and that application, we can perform a search. Give it some tabs. Then for each tab, you would have some items under it. So for instance, we can make this tab, it's a tech shop. So let's say we can make this tab laptops. Please pardon my handwriting. So we can say laptops. We can say here, what can you suggest? Let's say phones. And then the last one, we can say accessories. Okay. So when you come to the tab for the laptops, we will have in here an image of the item. And then we'll have the name of the item. Okay, so for each tab, we will have various images. And for each of them, you'll have an item in there, and then the description or the name of the item. Are you with me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. So we'll try and develop something simple like this for today. Then the search, to be able to search through or search through the items. All right, so let's kickstart, but let's look at the widgets. Okay. So last week we said that we looked at the widgets. Okay, so if you come to this part, the navigation menu on the left-hand side, please know the various displays, okay, or the various, displays you should see on the platform, especially the app builder platform. So we said we have the navigation bar, we have the navigation bar, we have the toolbar, okay, over here. And when we finish, we will look at how the generate the code and go through the code, okay, so that you understand what codes are behind the drag and drop that we do. Then over here, we have the widgets, or we have the properties here, properties panel. Okay, and then we have the canvas area, and we have the widgets here. So today we focus a bit on the widgets. Focus on the widgets. Look at the widgets and how, sorry. just a short introduction to it, okay, the various type of widgets. So if you come to the navigation bar, the first option you see there is the widget palette. Now, under the widget palette, you see the various widgets, the commonly used one, as you can see over here. Then we have the layout widgets. Now, the layout widgets are the main widget architecture that you can work with. Okay. So you can see the container row, stack, divider, and so on. Then there's also the base elements. So the base elements are more like the key elements that we use in the design. Okay. So there are a whole lot of them. Then we have the page elements. So the page elements, they are they work, they are default, but they usually sit outside the widget tree. Okay, so anytime we are using page elements here, for instance, if we introduce an app bar already exists. Okay, so probably let me just take the app bar, let me delete it. So if we go to the page element and we introduce an app bar, okay, so you can see it. Now, this app bar is usually outside the widget tree. So if I go back to the widget tree, okay, you don't see it show there because it by default, it is outside or it sits outside the widget tree. Okay. Then we also have still in the app, the page elements, we have the drawer, the floating action button. Okay. For instance, we can drop it here if you want to perform any action. For in this case, maybe you want to add an element. So we have the add icon there if you want to add an element. So these are the page elements. Then we have the form elements, text field, drop down, and so on. All right, so now let's look at the widgets. Okay, now so in Flutter or Flutterflow, the widgets are basically the fundamental building blocks, okay, of every Flutter application. Now, there are two main types of widgets. We have the stateless widgets and we have the stateful widgets. Okay, the stateless widgets are widgets that are, we call them immutable, okay, and do not change their property or appearance when they are created. So a typical example is a text widget, an icon, image widget, a container, and so on. Then we have a stateful widget. So the stateful widgets, they are dynamic, okay, and they update their appearance uh, based on some response to events, okay, or when there are some interactions. So the stateful widgets, typical example, we have the text field, the drop downs, the checkbox. Okay, this so mostly the widgets that you can see here. Okay, they form the stateful widgets. Now, when it comes to these widgets, okay, there are some widgets that can take, or there are some, or we want to know like how many number of children a widget can take, okay, or how many children can a widget take. Okay. Now a widget can accept zero child. That means that there are some widgets that do not have or that cannot accept a child. And when I say accept a child, we'll go into it shortly so that you understand. And there are some widgets that accept only one child, and there are others that accepts many child or children. Let me put it that way. Okay. Now, a typical example of a widget that does not accept a child, for instance, if we go into the base element and we take a text widget, okay, if I go to the widget tree, the text widget is this. It cannot accept a child. Okay, that means you can't put any other widget in it, or you can't wrap it. Okay, you can't wrap it. You can't wrap another widget in it. So that is the text widget. So all you can do is you can edit it, do whatever you want to do. The properties are here, but you can't wrap it. You can't wrap another widget. Sorry, within it. Okay. Then we have another widget like the let me clear this writing. Yeah. I hope you all have a picture of what we'll be doing, the application we are going to build. So I can clear it from here. Okay. All right. So when we come now, you can see this home page here. Can you all see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this home page, when I click on this, anytime you see this, okay, as part of a widget, that means you can add a child to it. Okay, so if I put a cursor here, it says add a child to this widget. Okay. Now, if I do this, it allows me to add another element to that widget. At the moment, there's a text element, which I just did the drag and drop. You can do the drag and drop, or you can add it through the widgets. If that widget allows you to add a child or another element, okay? So the next widget I'll add is a container. Now you can see that it's giving me some constraints, okay? It said replace the widgets. You are about to replace the widgets inside this scaffold, okay, which already contains a text. Okay. If you don't want to replace it, wrap both in a column, row, or stack instead. Okay. Now, what this is trying to say is that this home page, okay, can only take one widget, which is a text widget. Okay, so if you want to add another widget, then you have to wrap it with a widget which can help you contain more widgets, more child elements or more children. Okay, so for instance, if I take this text out, if I delete it and I put a container, okay, the container also is also a widget. However, it allows only one, the container takes only one child, okay, can accept a child. So within the container, I can put in a text, which is a child of the container. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for instance, last time we talked about how you can see the code. Okay. And we said when you come to the toolbar, when you go to the toolbar has the developer menu, which is this. A toolbar has the developer menu. There's those who just joined. Kindly mute yourself. It has a developer menu here. So you see the greater than, sorry. You see the greater than and less than sign with a forward slash in it. Okay. So when you click it, you can go and view the code. Now that will take you to a browser. Takes a while to load because of the internet access. Just a moment. Let me sign in. Then we can continue. All right. So this is the code to just this little thing that we've done. So you can see the interface here. Okay, so by default we had the home page. Okay, the home page widget showing, and then we have the container, and inside the container we added a text. Okay, so this is a container. Okay, and we have a text inside the container. Okay. So if you look at the code carefully, you can see all right. Sorry. So if you go into the code, it says Flutterflow that team imports the various packages, okay, that we are using. So they have the material.dat, then the Google fonts. Okay, so it's taking the fonts from Google. Then the model, homepage model.dat, and then we come to the home page widgets. So the home page widgets is what we saw here. Okay, that's the home page widgets. Now the home page widgets extends the stateful widgets. So remember what we said about the stateful widgets, right? We said the stateful widgets are widgets that are dynamic, okay, and they update their appearance based on some response or some interactions with, for instance, some user interactions, or probably when you are adding a new data. Okay. Then specify the route name and the route path. That's the home page. Okay. Then we come down to the home page widget states. Okay. So the home page widget states shows the model. Now, this is the part I want to focus on. Okay. That's the widgets. That's whatever we are trying to build. So basically, if you take any Flutter code, if you take any Flutter code, it follows certain parameters. Now you have the app bar. Then the app bar will now give you the what we call the scaffold. It gives you the scaffold. Then you also have other components in there. Okay. Now inside the scaffold, you have the app bar, you have the body, you have things like the drawer and so on. So for instance, if we go to the text shop interface again, you can see the elements in here. Okay. They form part of the component of the scaffold. They form the components of the scaffold. So the app bar, the drawer, okay, the end drawer, okay, there are other elements, floating action, button, so on. Now so that forms the app bar. Then we have the body of the code. The body of the code. And that's what I want us to focus on, which is the drag and drop we are seeing here. Okay. So that appears in the body. Okay. And this forms the body. This forms the body. Okay. Now, when you notice, we introduce a text. Okay. However, that text was inside a container. Okay, we first introduced a container, which is this. Okay, and then we put the text inside. So the text has a text which is what? Hello world. Then it has other codes here. We'll not go into them now. As we modify them, we'll come back and see how they interact. Okay. So basically, you have the scaffold. The scaffold has the app bar. and then it has the body. Okay, and the body, within the body, we have a safe area. Okay, so we set the safe area has been set to true. Then we introduce a child, which is a container. So if you notice, we introduce the container. Okay, and the container by default has a width of 100 and a height of 100. Okay, then a container has what we call decoration. Decoration. Now, when we say decoration or the box decoration, it's actually a class. It's a property in Flutter. Okay. Now it gives you option to perform some styling. Okay, perform some style. So, for instance, you can check the border, the color. Okay, some properties like color, border, okay, and so on. So if we look over here, the main property under the decoration, okay, which is the decoration box. Okay, the property that's being used here is color. Okay, now when we take the container child, the property used there is the widgets. The width, the height, decoration. Okay, then under the decoration, we have the decoration box, which is a key property under the container. And then under the decoration box, there's also another property, which is the color. So the color property is used to set the color of the box, the color of this box. So if we go back into the platform and we take the container, let me go to the widget tree, and we take the container. Okay, so you can see it's selected. We can set the color from here. Okay, so we can set the color. Once you click here, you can give it a primary color, secondary color, or if you know the color code you want to work with, you give it a color. So I take a primary color and then I set it. So let's say yellow. I set it to yellow. So that sets the color of the box decoration, which we can see over there. So if you look at it now, you realize that by default, it was using the Flutterflow theme. By default, the color was using the Flutterflow theme. But now that we've set the color, okay, it gives it a hexadecimal color, okay, with this color code indicating the yellow color that we chose. Okay, if we can also change this color code, okay, if for instance we want to go with the hexadecimal form. Please, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
What
sir.
I'm doing here is to break down the body of the code. Okay, we'll go back to the widgets. So now inside the container, we place another child in there, in the container. Okay, so we place the child, and that child is a text. So we added a text widget to the container. Okay, now when we come back, you can see it over here, child. Then the child, what child is it? It's a text widget. So we added the text widgets as a child. Now it is inside. Now, if you are doing Flutter coding, you need to take note of what we call the indentation. Okay. So this is the child node. This is the scaffold. The scaffold is ending here. Okay. And then we have the safe area, which is the body inside the scaffold. Okay. Then we have the child, which is this. Okay. So this is the child. The child is ending here. Then inside the child, which is the container, we introduce another child, which is we introduce another child, which is the what's it called? Another child, which is the text. Okay, and the text here is hello world. Okay, so inside the code, you can change the text. So let's say mobile. Okay, it's read only, so we can't edit here. You can't edit the text here. Okay? But we can change the text. So what you can do is you can copy this code onto a platform. Benjamin, just a minute. Onto your
Okay.
if you have installed, let's say, VS Code, you've configured it with your various installing Flutter, installing that, and done the various configuration. You can copy this code in there and then edit it, okay, and understand it more. Okay. So the text is here, and then it gives you some properties under the text. So you have the style. By default, it's using Flutterflow theme. By default, the font is Google Fonts. Okay, the Inter font. Okay, so you realize that everything here is the default Flutterflow properties. Until you change it, it doesn't change any of this code here. Okay, so I'm bringing you into the code form just to explain the scaffold. That's the body. Okay, the body of the application. That's what the drag and drop that we just did here, and the various components and properties that we can see. Yeah. All right, Benjamin, you can ask your question.
Okay, sir. Sir, I was looking at this quote. I mean, now, and I was also thinking that um, uh, uh, on the main page you have your container and then you have your text and everything.
Yeah.
When you click on the text or and also the container, you can easily edit it on the right side with the colors that you want. So I was thinking, how important is, I mean, how important are the codes for us now to use when
No,
you can
so
easily do everything on the right side with everything?
yeah, so what I'm saying is that, like I introduced the course in the beginning of the semester, we'll be doing minimal coding. Okay, so mostly dragging and dropping and setting some properties. The coding is just a little. However, it doesn't mean I will not teach you the code, because some of the things that we drag and drop is going to generate the code. So we'll go into the code for you to understand it. Do you get me?
Okay, sir.
So that you understand the code behind what you are, the drag and drop that you are performing. Okay. And like I keep saying, at the top up level, you do mobile application development again. However, with that one, we are going strictly by coding. We are not doing Flutterflow. We go strictly by coding. But you still need to understand the code behind the drag and drop we are doing. That's why I have to bring you to the developer menu so that we see how the code is the dynamics in the code as we do the drag and drop of the components. Are we clear?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So back to the widgets. So we're talking about the container. Okay, so the container can only take a child. However, if you want the container to take multiple children, okay, what you do is, for instance, if maybe I want to add another text, you can see the constraint. It's telling me either I replace that child widget by any of this. That's the column, row, and stack. Now, what this means is that the column, row, and stack widgets are widgets that can take multiple children. Are we here? Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the column, these widgets here are widgets that can take multiple widgets or multiple children. So you can see here, wrap in column, wrap in row, wrap in stack. Okay, so if I want to add more text to this container, then I have to delete this one here, the text in here, and put in here a row. That's if I want to arrange my text in a row form, or I put in a column if I want to arrange the details in a column form, or I put in a stack. Okay, and there are other widgets here which accept multiple or which can take multiple widgets. For instance, we have the grid view. Grid view over here can take multiple. We have the list view, which can also take multiple. Okay. There's the page view, which can also take multiple widgets. Okay. Tab bar, which we are going to explore into today's example. Okay, which can also take multiple widgets. And then we also have, I think there's target view. So most of the widgets here can take multiple widgets. You can also wrap them. So, okay. So if, for instance, I choose a column widget, so you can see here, example column. Okay, so that means you can now add, so with the column widget, I can add text. So if I want to add multiple text, you realize that I can add multiple text in that order. But for the container, if I want to add a text, it won't give you that option because it can only take one widget or one child at a time. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. So let's look at the multiple one, especially with the column and then the row. Okay. So if we take a column, like we can see here, the column is just more like a layout. Okay, it's like a main architecture, a layout. Okay, so it's like, okay, I want to arrange items in a column form. In a column. So it gives me that option to perform that arrangement. All right, so inside this column, Probably maybe I can add some containers. Okay, I can add a container. Okay. So in this container, we can set the properties. Okay, maybe let me just change the color. So let's give it a color. Let's say red. So we are giving it a primary color, red. Now this container, I can duplicate it. So I duplicate it, and then maybe I give it another color. Let's say green. All right. So let me just explain something quickly and then come back to these containers. So anytime we take the column, it has a properties, just the rows and column. They have properties. Okay. So if we take, for instance, the column properties, we have the first property here, which is the main axis property. So it says the main axis property shows how much space should be occupied in the main axis. Okay. So what happens is that the columns always get its size, okay, or it gets its widgets from its children, okay, or mainly, yes, it gets its widgets from its children. So if we look at this column that we've selected here, it has properties. That's the main axis size. So the main axis size here is showing the minimum amount of size in the main axis, then the maximum amount of size if you want to expand. Then we can align in terms of align the main axis. So you can have it on top, at the middle, at the bottom, okay, or place it at the end, another option. Okay. Now, let me remove this from the container. And then we have only the column. Let me do it so that I don't get confused. So I'll delete everything again. And then we have the home page. So the home page, we are adding a column. Okay. So I just added a column to the home page, and you can see how it looks. So what happens is that the column takes the entire space from the top to the end, to the bottom. Okay. Now, if we add a container to it, you can see that the container is taking the top right of the column. The column is all the way from here, all the way down. When we added the container took this, and the size of the container is 100 by 100. Okay. Now, if we go back into the column, or let's change the color of the container so that we can easily identify what is happening. If we go back here, we can go back to the column. Okay. We can move the container based on the column, and you can see that the column is stretching from here all the way here to the bottom. Okay. So if we do the minimum amount of size, which is this one, the main axis, you can see that it takes the size of the container. Okay, it takes the size of the container. If we do the maximum size, you can see that it takes the height, or it increases the height all the way to the end. However, the width is the same size as the container. Okay. Now, you can use the main axis alignment to move it up. Okay, that's the start, the center, and then the end. So if I do this center, it centers the child widgets. If I go to end, it brings it to the bottom of the child widgets, or the end of the column. Okay. Then we have the space severally. So the space severally, space evenly is used to space if you have more than one child. No. So for instance, if we add another container, okay, and let me change the color of this container to, let's say, yellow. And we go back to the column container. The container should be in the column instead. So both containers are in the column, not a container in a container. Okay. So if we take the column, you can space it out evenly. That's what the space out evenly does. If we say up, it moves them to the top, the starts, then center, and then end. Okay, then space evenly. Then we have here space around. Okay, so the space around gives the same space around it. So you can see the space here. If we divide this into two, the space here and the space here are the space around widgets. That's container red. Then the space here form the space around container yellow. Okay. Then we also have the space between. So it takes the the child widgets, or in this our case, the containers, wide apart and give it a space. Sorry, it gives it a space between them. Are you following the properties as we discussed them? Are we here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are here.
Yeah. Then we also have the cross axis, which is the cross axis alignment. Okay. So the cross axis alignment is supposed to align to the left. That's the start, the right, and then the end. Okay, which is supposed to show at this point. Okay. However, the cross axis alignment, when we click it, you don't see any difference. Okay. Why? Because it has to be inside a container. That's the column has to be inside a container, okay, for you to be able to do this cross-axis alignment. Okay. Now, then there's another option here, which is the stretch. So the stretch is going to stretch the children of the column. And what are the children? The two containers here. It's going to stretch them, okay, across horizontally. So when I click on it, you can see that it stretches them horizontally. Okay. When I click it, when we come back here, it moves it back. But when I want to move the container from the left to the center to the right, what I have to do is, when I want to move the column, what I have to do is either I resize these containers in here. So for instance, I take the yellow container and then I resize it. So the width is 100, the height is 100. If I change it to infinity, you can see that it resizes the column. Okay. If I bring it to, let's say, 200, you can see that now the column size has changed. Okay, so the column and the row, their size changes based on the size of the widgets, like the size of the children widgets that they have. That's the row and the column based on the children widgets, the size that they occupy. Okay, I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, so I mentioned that if we want to, let me make this 100 again. If we want to move the column, okay, to the start, end, center, that's the cross axis alignment, then we need to put this column inside a container. Okay, so let me introduce another container. Okay, so this time this is a container. However, I'll move the container up. Or let me put the column inside the container. Okay, it's because of the home page, it's not allowing us to do what I wanted to do. All right, so there's a column in here, so we can use this. Okay. So when we take this column, we are able to set it clumsy. All right, let me take the home page off. Let me delete the home page. Add the blank widgets. Create blank widgets. Sorry, create blank page. So let's name this page. Let me just say, so let's name it based on the application we want to develop. So let's say shop tech categories. A blank page, yeah. I think this should work. So so we have a column here. So instead of this column, let me delete it and let's use a container. So in the container, I'll add a column. Then in the column, we have two containers. Inside the column, one is yellow, hash, let's say FFF 0000. That's red. And then we do the other one blue. So we can say RGB. That's 0000FF. So that will give us blue. Okay. So if we take this, we go into the column. Uh, doing the right thing. Column. So inside the container, okay, there's one issue there. Entering page is not an exit page. That is. So let me just keep what I was trying to do, and let's go into the main interface. So we want to look at the developing the application or the example we want to look at today, which has to do with the column, coming up with the interface for the tech shop. So we said it's going to have a search aspect to it. And then we will have a tab. So that's 3 tabs. One is going to take laptop. One will look at phones. And then one will be accessories. Okay. So for each tab, we are going to specify the items within the tab. For each tab, we'll specify the items. Okay. So our main page, our main page is what we'll call it the tech categories. Okay. So let me delete it and then create it all over. So we need to create, so at least we need one page to work with. That's okay. So we are going to create a page like this. We are going to create a page like this if we go to list. So when I click on list, default, you can see, we can look at how this was created, okay, and use it to create our interface, okay. So if we look at this, you can see here that it has, first you have an app bar, okay. Then inside the app bar, we have a text, and then we have the icon button. Then here we have the search for shoes. So the search bar over here. Then we have an icon button. Okay. Then here we have the tab. So the tab for men, women. Then it has the categories in here, which is a text. So if we take the image, then we show it a text. So you can see here that the image, first inside the tab, we first add a tab bar. Then inside the tab bar, there's a column. Okay. There's a column inside the tab bar. Then in that column, we put a text, and then we add containers. So the various containers are here, as we can see. Okay. Then after that, we have for each container. Okay, so if we take the first container, we have in there an image and a text, an image and the text. So let's go back to our tech category, which is this. So over here, we are going to add an app bar, or you can add the app bar from here. Okay. So what we want to add, choose an app bar style. So you can choose a style from here. So let's check this one. So this is our app bar. The text, we can give it a name, a title. Let's use the same approach. So let's say categories. Just a moment. All right, let's go on. So we give it a category. We can also change the primary color. Okay, so we have various colors here we can use. So let's say, what color goes with tech? Let's take this color. So that's our app bar. Now we are going to add a search bar. I think there was a search bar there. So let's look at how they went about it. So they introduced a row. Okay. So, but first there has to be a column. So inside the tech categories, we will put in a column because we want to arrange the things in a column. Want to arrange the things vertically. Okay, so we put a column. So I'll bring it on top of the app bar or under the app bar, whichever way you want to. So inside the column, first we add a row. Inside the column, we add a row. So in the row, we specify the in the row, we're going to specify, I think there's the search bar. Let me check again. I think it's a search bar. Yeah. So we add a search bar, and then we add an item, an icon button. Let me add the icon button. That should be inside the row. So the icon button, and then with the icon button here, when you come to the properties, icon properties, okay? So you can select the icon that you want. So let's say search. I don't know if the search bar, it's here. So we can use any of this. So the search icon, give it a white the information color, let's make it white. Sorry, let's make the information color black. That's for the property. Then the background color, we change it to white. I think white is too obvious, so let's change it to, let's make it on set so that it takes the color off the color of the background, okay? Then we have other properties like alignment, okay? So how you want to align it and so on. So if we go to the row, we can move this to the left-hand side because it's inside the row. And the next thing we want to add inside our column is to add a tab. I think it's the tab. The next thing is a tab. So the tab bar. The tab bar. So you can see the tab bar here. Or there's a text before the tab bar. Okay, so the tab bar first. So the tab bar, so for each of these tabs, we are going to give it a name. So the first name we used is laptop. Then the second one, we're giving it a name, phones. And then the third one, we say accessories. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for each of these, we can edit the style, give it some style to some font style and so on. We can edit it to suit how we want it. Okay, so I'll leave that to you to explore. So now for each tab, we are going to have a column in there. Okay, and you can see the column for each tab. So if we take the first one, laptop tab, and then what can we add to it? So it says categories. We don't need it. We can add a container straight away. So inside the column, so if I come into the first tab and then tap page, Emmanuel, please don't write on the screen. Undo the annotation. All right, so if you take the bar page. Sorry. Am I going to have so we are on the column. Yes. Is the tab again? Okay, tab bar. So the first tab is this one. Then the first tab has a tab page. Then inside the tab page, you have a column. So in this column, we are going to add containers. Okay. So we add a container to the column. And then we specify the property. So for this container, we are going to add an image to it. So if we take the first container, we add an image to the container. Then we add a text. No, first we make sure the image, we know that the container can only take one child, right? So we can't add an image and text like that. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can't just add an image and text. So for instance, if I add an image and I'm going to add a text, you can see it's giving me this constraint. So I have to first put a row there. Okay, then within the row, I add my image and then I add my text. Okay. Then we want the container to show, to spread across to spread vertically, right? Sorry, to spread horizontally. Okay, like we can see here. Okay, so this is the container. And you can see it's showing horizontally and it had some paddings too. So we are going to set those paddings for the container. So if we take the container, to be able to do it that way, we need to, we can set the width. Okay. So we can set the alignment. Okay. If we look at, go back to this, now I'm using this as a template so that anytime you want to design, you can just look at this and then try it out. Okay. So if we take this, you can see that the width has been set to infinity for the container. Okay, infinite. Okay. So we go back to the category and then we look at the container. Okay. And then we set to infinite. I hope I'm setting a container. Then we come to the image. So we can do the image 100 by 100. Okay. So the width, I can make 100. So we have something like this. Then the hello, that's the text. We can move the text. Let's say we can space them out. So if we take the row, we can do, for instance, space evenly, or we can space it around, or we can do, yes, choose the space around in this form. Then we go back to the container and then we add some padding. So let me say a padding of 15 at the side, padding of 15 at the top, and then padding of 15 around it. Okay, so we can have it like this. So once we have this column, all we have to do is to duplicate it, okay, for the other columns, to duplicate the various items. So the container, sorry, once we have this container, okay, we have to duplicate it for the other items. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you duplicate it for the other items. So I'm going to edit this. So let's take the image. So if you take the image, let me look for an image. Let me see if I can download a laptop image. Laptop image. Let's say a PNG. I have to sign in first. I don't want to sign in into anything. So let me just take any image from here, download it, save the image into my downloads. And then, so with your image widget selected, with the image widget selected, come all the way to the property which says path. Sorry, image formats. And then select image. Sorry, the image type rather. Let's select upload file. Okay. Or you can do assets also. So assets, and then you click on image assets to look for the image you want to upload. So in my case, it's in downloads. No item selected. See tool. Okay, all right. So this is the image, and then we can add the text. So we can say MacBook M4. And then I'll add some description, maybe 16 gig RAM and 1 TB SSD. And add some style to it, maybe bold. Text property. Bold. All right, so we can do some padding to the text. So let's say 20. Okay, especially the right padding 20. Okay, so it looks this way. Are we all following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can duplicate the container. So when I duplicate it, you can see this. So I can now come to this one and then edit it with another item. I'm done. I duplicate it again for the next item in that order. Okay. So for the containers, you can set some properties. So maybe, let's say, for instance, the border ratio. So maybe you want it to look round. So maybe I set it to 20. Okay. I want it to affect border ratio. So we set it 20. Maybe the 20 is too much, but yeah, okay, it looks okay. So if you look at it carefully, you can see the border is curved. Okay, the border is curved. Let me change the color of the container so you can actually see what I'm trying to say. Background. So you see something like this. Okay, the roundness of the edges. Are we here? Are we here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, this is what we learned today. I'm going to give you a quick project to do. I think we are supposed to work on one project some time back, but I'm trying to modify it and make it as part of the mid-semester exams, which I'll give to you on Friday. Okay. So with this, okay, you can just modify it. So the assignment I'll send to you is you design the interface, okay, and populate it with items. So I give you specific things you are supposed to do, like each group and what you are supposed to do. So in this example, we are using laptop phones and I think accessories and stuff. Okay. But you would have to populate it with your own item to make it a very functional application. Some error. So the navigation action container page doesn't exist. Okay. It's routing. Okay. Okay. I think it was error to do with mainly navigation. Okay, so we need to do those settings. But next week, sorry, on Wednesday, Eddie will take you through mainly the navigation. Okay, so if you have three or two or three pages, how do you navigate between the pages? Okay, how do you do those navigation between the pages? Okay, and then it would also take you through the storyboard, okay, to help with the navigation. All right. Any question? Any question? And please,
Hello, sir.
hopefully next week I'll make the material available to you in the form of handouts next week, Friday. So I don't know. I'll speak to the class reps and see how best we can work on that. Yes. All right. Any question? Yes, Daniel.
Please, sir, like I was not able to join earlier, so I wanted to know how quick we'll get the video.
Yeah, hopefully by close of day, I'll upload it and send the link.
Thank you, sir.
Any question? All right. So there are so many templates you can watch. Just follow with how everything is done, and then you can try out the templates. So if we take this, what we've done, for instance, and we go into the developer view, okay, you can see it here. If we go into the body, you can see how the items were, or the various components were added. So we started with the app bar, which is part of the scaffold. I think we changed we changed the color, okay, to white, the icon color. We added an icon, okay, an icon button. And then we added the text. So the text, we added these categories, okay. So if I give you a portion of this code, should be able to explain what is happening in the code. Then when we come to the body, okay, we use a safe area, then column, set the safe area to true, sorry. Then we use the column. Then in the column, we added the row. We added or inside the column, there were various children. Okay, so the first one, we used the row. Okay, then we set, no, this is the, I think this is the, yes, the tab. Let me go to the tab instead. Categories, then we added the action, safe area. Yes, we added the column first. Then in that column, there were various child nodes. So we added the row. Then the row, we added an icon, yeah, which we changed to black. So that's this part. Then we went with the expanded, okay, where we added a column. That's the part here. We added a column. Then the column, we added a tab bar as a child. Okay. So the tab bar, inside the tab bar, we have various tab bars. We added the laptop, the phones, and then accessories changed. Okay. Then the expanded, we added there was the app bar view, which was generated. Within it, we had the column. Then we did some padding. We had a container, which is the app bar view. Then we added some padding, then the container. Then we set some colors for the container. The weight was infinity. Okay, so that was what made it wide. Okay. Then we came to add row. Then in the row, we added a child, which was an image, and then added the image. So from the assets, we located it from the PC, and then we added it. So that's what is giving us here, the padding and everything set. And then we added a text. So we added a text. What is the text? So child, image, assets, and then we added a text. So this is the text we added. Okay. All right. So I'll end today's class here, make the video available so that you can always watch it and then try your hands on this thing. And also the assignment will come tomorrow together with the groupings. I think the part-time, your grouping, you already have your groups. Okay, so it's the full-time one that I think I modified a bit. So I'll send it to the various class reps to make it available. Okay. So thank you very much for joining.